There are two other sounds accompanying the vowel sounds, and they're shown at the end of line 3. Both of these signs represent the most natural endings and the most commonly used endings, the most commonly used ways of completing a vowel sound. The easiest way to end a sound is by closing your mouth. If, while pronouncing the vowel sound you close your lips, you will get the sound The green dot placed above the letter is known as anusvara. It represents the closing of the lips and the creation of a nasal sound because the vibration is now directed up through the nasal passage rather than moving out through the lips. This anusvara can be placed above any vowel sound. If you visualize the dot being placed above each letter of the first row, you get the sounds im, eem, Second row, aim, aim, om, aum. Third row, rim, reem, lrim. The final sound, shown in the third row as two dots placed after the letter is another ending. The other most natural way to complete the pronunciation of a sound is to end the breath. Once there's no more breath to go out, no more sound can be produced. These two dots placed after the letter in this case are called visarga. They represent a final hard breath striking in the throat. Hard in the sense that there's no accompanying resonance in the throat as there would be in the sound ha, ha. Notice the difference. When you say ha, there's a resonance in the throat, but with this closing breath there is no resonance, just a hard strike. The breath comes up and strikes in the throat. It's considered to be a guttural sound. At times, this sound can have the quality of echoing the vowel sound which it follows. But it should not become the sound ha. Ha would be a separate consonant sound all by itself and could take all the different vowel forms. Ha, ha, he, hu. It's a consonant which requires a vowel sound to be pronounced. This letter is a sound which completes a vowel sound by throwing out the breath. It's called, once again, visarga. Placed after each of the vowel sounds, it sounds like this. The first row. Ah, e, ooh. Second row. A, I, oh, ow. We've completed the entire vowel group. It's useful to chant these sounds in sequence in order to learn them. We'll take the first row and then the second row combined with the final two sounds, anusvara and visarga. A, I, u, a, I, o, ah. I, u, a, I, o, ah. I, u, a, I, o, ah. A, I, u, a, I, o, ah. R, ri, lr, r, ri, lr. To pronounce all consonants. All consonants, as you see them here in the alphabet, contain the vowel sound a. Notice row 4 and the following 4 rows all follow exactly the same color pattern. 5 rows, which have exactly the same color pattern. Each of these 5 rows represents one of the 5 mouth positions. Row 4 represents 5 different letters located at position 1, guttural. Row 5 represents 5 different letters located at position 2, palatal. Row 6, 5 letters at position 3, cerebral. Row 7, 5 letters at position 4, dental. And row 8, 5 letters at the lips, position 5, labial. Vowels, already taken on side 1, are like energy. They are open vibrations moving freely through the mouth. Consonants are like matter. They depend on contact, touch. The contact of the tongue at the first 4 positions and the 2 lips at position 5 give consonants a feeling of solidity. The back of the tongue creates the first consonant, the back of the tongue touching at position 1, the same position which created the vowel sound a and ah. So if you remember the vowel sound a, locate the position, bring the tongue up to touch at that position, the consonant sound that you will get is ka. Ka is the first consonant. As you pronounce it, feel the continuous touching of the back of the tongue at position number 1. Ka. Ka, ka, ka. Look at the diagram and feel what the diagram is representing in your own mouth. Ka, 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 ka. The second consonant adds breath to the first one. Ka. The second consonant of row 4 is pronounced ka, ka, ka. Simultaneously, the sound ka is made and the breath is released. Ka. So the first consonant is a breathless sound. The breath is minimized. The second sound has the full force of the breath. So the first one, ka. The second one, ka. The first one, ka. The second one, ka. In both cases, the vowel sound a is used, the short vowel sound a. The difference between the first consonant, ka, and the second one, ka, is not long and short, as between the first vowel sound a and the second vowel sound ah. Length is determined by the vowel. In this case, we're only using the first vowel, as every consonant from this point on will use only the first vowel. Therefore, this is a short syllable. Ka. Add the breath. Ka. The only difference is that with the first one, the breath is minimized, and with the second one, the breath explodes out. But the actual time of resonance in the throat is exactly the same. Ka, ka. Hear the difference. Ka, ka. You can exaggerate this a little bit when you're first beginning the Sanskrit language, the difference between an unaspirated sound, minimal breath, and an aspirated sound, maximum breath. Ka, 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 ka. Another way that you can do this is if you hold your hand about 6 inches in front of your mouth. With the first sound, you should not be able to feel your breath. Ka. With the second one, you should be able to feel the breath striking the palm of your hand. Ka. Again, compare. Ka, ka. These two sounds, although they sound alike, are valued as completely distinct, separate letters of the Sanskrit alphabet. The following two letters, in positions 3 and 4 of line 4, are identical to the first two, with the one exception that they are accompanied by resonance in the throat. In other words, if you take these first two consonants, ka and ka, and you add to them a resonance in the throat, sounding something like this, the sounds that you get are ga and ga, ga and ga. The first one again is minimal breath. The breath is held down, ga. The second one has the full breath, ga. The difference between the first two letters, ka and ka, and the second two letters, ga and ga, is one of the most important distinctions in the Sanskrit language. The first two are regarded as hard, ka, ka. The third and fourth are regarded as soft, ga and ga. A hard sound is unvoiced, which means that there's no resonance in the throat. The minimal amount of sound produced in the throat accompanies a hard sound, whereas a soft sound has full resonance. The difference, if we were just to isolate the quality of hard and isolate the quality of soft, is this. Hard. The minimal amount of sound that you can make in the throat, unvoiced. Soft, or voiced, has more vibration in the throat. Or can be more continuous as For example, the English sound sa would be hard, minimal resonance. Sa, 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 whereas a soft sound would be za, za. Or in other words, the hard variation would be sa. The soft variation of the same sound would be za. In exactly the same way, among the guttural sounds given in the first line of consonants of the Sanskrit alphabet, ka and ka are hard, ga and ga are soft. You can also hear the difference between these if you put your fingers in your ear and say ka, and then say ga. Hard, ka, 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 soft, ga, ga, ga. If I exaggerate the difference between hard and soft, listen. Ka, ga, ka, ga. Ga is considered to be the soft variation of ka, and ka is considered to be the hard variation of ga. The same thing with the aspirate letters. Ga is the soft variation of ka, and ka is the hard variation of ga. In other words, the first and the third letters are virtually the same sound. The only difference is that one is voiced, the third one, ga, and the other, the first one, is unvoiced, ka. Same with positions 2 and 4, identical sounds. The one at position 2 is unvoiced, ka. The one at position 4 is voiced, ga. The last of the 5 letters at the guttural position, position 1, the 5th letter in row 4, is a nasal sound. Nasal sounds are extremely soft. They have a great deal of resonance. This particular nasal sound is pronounced nga, nga. Now, it was mentioned earlier that every consonant in the Sanskrit language has the vowel sound a contained in it. In practical usage, a never appears following this consonant, except when it's part of the alphabet. In normal usage, this fifth guttural letter is used as a nasal sound preceding the other four, without any vowel sound coming in between. For example, if we use the letter a in front of the nasal sound and then immediately follow the nasal sound with one of the four guttural consonants, you can hear how this sound is used. Anka, anka, anga, anga. Very occasionally, this sound also can be used as a final letter of a word. For example, but never in usage is it followed by a vowel sound. In other words, you would not have the variations of the vowels ng, nga, ngi, ngi. The sound is primarily used as a nasal sound preceding immediately before the other four guttural letters. The five guttural sounds, then, are pronounced ka, ka, ga, ga, nga, ka, ka, ga, ga, nga. With the first row, the row of gutturals, the model has been established. When we move on to position 2, palatal, we will get exactly the same 5 types of sounds in their respective order. Remember, the palatal sound when we were learning the vowel sounds originally was E. If you follow E, notice that the tongue is pointing to the palatal position. If you go ahead and let the tongue make full contact with the palatal position, and at the same time make a hard sound, similar to ka in the throat, the sound that you get is cha, cha. You can feel this if you go E and then take the E to its conclusion by touching the tongue and making a hard sound. Eat cha, eat cha, eat cha. Notice the tongue position, and as you pronounce the letter cha, feel, just as in the diagram, the tongue touching the roof of the mouth at the palatal position 2. Cha, cha, cha. Notice the first letter of this row is in the color magenta, just like the letter above it. Magenta indicates a hard sound with minimal resonance and unaspirated, minimal breath. So exactly like the letter ka above it in the guttural position, we have in the palatal position cha. Go on to the next letter. Add the breath. Cha. The color of this letter is red-orange, just exactly like the letter above it. The color red-orange indicates a hard sound, unvoiced, minimal resonance in the throat, but this time having full breath. Pronounce cha, 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 cha. So 2 distinct letters. The first letter in magenta, unaspirated, cha. The second letter, aspirated, cha. Both of them represented by warm colors, indicating hard sounds, sounds with minimal resonance in the throat. Again, the difference between a hard sound is and a soft hard, soft. So if we add the soft resonance in the throat to these 2 letters, we get the letters in positions 3 and 4. The soft variation of the first sound, cha, is ja. Notice this in the color violet. The color violet indicates a soft letter with minimal breath, exactly like the letter above it in the guttural position, ga. In the palatal position, we get ja. Ja is the soft variation of the first letter in the row, cha. Move on to the fourth position. The color is blue. Blue represents a soft letter, but aspirated with a full breath. Full resonance and full breath. The sound is ja. Like the letter above it in the guttural position, ga. Ja is the corresponding soft aspirate at position 2. Ja. Ja. Ja is the soft variation of the second letter in this row, cha. Compare the two. Cha. Ja. Cha. Ja. Again, the difference between a hard letter and a soft can be experienced by putting your fingers in your ear and pronouncing first the hard letter, cha, 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 and then the soft letter, ja, 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 ja. You should experience exactly the same difference as in the previous row when we did the same exercise with ka and ga. In other words, ka is to ga as cha is to ja at the palatal position. The last letter of this row is a nasal sound and fits approximately the same description as the nasal sound of the previous guttural group. This nasal sound is seldom followed by a vowel sound, unless it's being used as it is here in the alphabet, where it's followed by the sound a. The letter is pronounced nya, nya, nya. You can hear it as it's most commonly pronounced if you put the letter a in front of it and then follow it immediately by one of its 4 companion palatal letters. The first, cha, followed by cha, uncha, uncha, followed by the second letter, cha, uncha, uncha, followed by the third letter, ja, unja, unja, followed by the fourth letter, ja, unja, unja. The 5 palatal letters, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Again, cha, cha, ja, ja, nya. Notice that the nasals are represented by the color green. The nasals are extremely soft sounds. They can maintain a continuous resonance. Nya. Or the previous one, the guttural. Nga. We've completed 2 rows of consonants. Row 4, the gutturals, and row 5, position 2, the palatals. We move on now to row 6, position 3, cerebrals. Coming vertically down the first column, the letters are magenta in color, representing hard, unaspirated. Row 4, ka. Row 5, cha. Row 6, position cerebral. Position 3, ta. Ta. The vowel sound that we had at this position was r. Notice the tongue position, this time the tip of the tongue. Ta. Ta. The tongue is further back then we would be accustomed to be pronouncing a similar T sound in English. So don't confuse this with the English T. The letter is ta, ta, ta. Minimal breath, minimal resonance, a hard sound. Ta, ta, ta. As you look at the diagram, feel the same going on inside your mouth. Feel the vibration through the tip of the tongue, touching at position 3. Ta, ta, ta. Moving on to the next letter. Red-orange, indicating a hard sound, minimal resonance, but this time full breath, full aspiration. Ta, ta, ta. Like the previous letters above it, ka, palatal, cha. Now the cerebral sound is ta. So the two hard letters are ta and ta. Again, the minimal breath, if you hold your hand 6 inches in front of you, should not be felt. Ta, ta. The second letter with the full breath, you should be able to feel the breath on your palm. Ta, ta. The two letters once more, ta and ta. The third letter is a soft variation of the first. If you take the hard letter, ta, and simply add resonance to it, we get the sound da, da, da. Da, as you see it written here, is violet in color. Like the previous two soft, unaspirated sounds above it. At position 1, ga. At position 2, ja. Now at position 3, the soft, unaspirated sound is da, da, da. Da is the soft variation of the first letter of this row, ta. Add breath to da, and we get the fourth letter. The color blue represents a soft sound which has full breath, is aspirated. Da, da, da. Like the letters above it, in position 1, ga. In position 2, ja. At position 3, the cerebral, soft, aspirated sound is da. Da is the soft variation of the second letter in this horizontal row, ta. Compare the two, ta and da. Again, you can hear the difference between a hard and a soft sound. If you pronounce ta continuously with your fingers in your ears, you'll hear it has no resonance. Ta, 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 ta. And then pronouncing the soft variation, da, 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 da. It tends to fill the inner space with its resonance. So the four letters in this row so far are ta, ta. The two hard sounds, ta, ta. And the two soft sounds, da, da. The last letter of this group, the nasal, represented by the color green, is na, na. This nasal sound is unlike the previous two nasals, in that the previous nasal sounds were used primarily in the position immediately before the other members of their group. For instance, ang-ka, palatal, an-cha. In other words, this letter, na, will stand alone, followed by an accompanying vowel. Na, na, ni, nu, nu. the 5 cerebral sounds at position 3. Ta, ta, da, da, na, ta, ta, da, da, na. Moving on to the 4th row of consonants. Position 4, behind the teeth. The tongue is touching where the upper teeth meet the gums. First letter of this row, magenta in color, representing a hard sound with minimal breath. Touching the teeth, we get the sound ta, ta, ta. Again, keeping the breath to a minimum. Ta, ta, ta. In the next position, the second letter in this row, simply add the breath. Ta, ta, ta. So the first 2 letters, ta, 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 ta. The soft letter corresponding to the first letter, ta, is da, da, da. It's violet, meaning soft and minimal breath. Da, corresponding to the first hard letter with minimal breath, ta. Da is the soft variation of ta. Compare the two. Ta, da. Hard, ta. Soft, da. The third letter again, da, da, da. Add breath to da, and we get the 4th letter. Da, da, da. The color is blue, meaning soft, with full breath, full aspiration. Da, da. Da is the corresponding soft letter to the second letter in this row, ta, the aspirated hard sound. Ta, soft, da, hard, ta, soft, da. The first 4 letters compared. Ta, ta, the 2 hard letters. Ta, ta, the 2 soft letters. Da, da. Da, da. The nasal sound in this group, represented by the color green, is na. Touching the 5th letter in the row is na, nasal. Na, na, na. Again, notice the quality of a nasal sound is that the air and the vibration are directed up through the nasal passages. Na. Na, na. There's also a great deal of vibration, making this an extremely soft sound. The more vibration, the softer the letter. So notice that you can sustain the softness of this sound, and you can feel at the same time the nasal quality vibrating through the nasal passages. Na. Na, like the nasal sound in the previous group, is an independent sound, frequently appearing standing by itself in a word with a vowel sound following. For example, na, na, ni, ni, nu, nu. The nasal sounds at both positions 3 and 4 are also the nasal sound, as in positions 1 and 2, which are used immediately before another letter of its own group. For example, if we put the letter a in front of this dental nasal sound, un, and follow it by the 4 members of its group, you can experience another use of this sound. Anta, anta, followed by the second letter, ta. Anta, anta. By the third letter, da. Anda, anda. And by the fourth letter, dha. Andha, andha. But this letter also stands alone. Na. The 5 dental letters. Ta, ta, da, dha, na. Again. Ta, ta, da, dha, na. We've now completed 4 rows of consonants, and we've completed the 4 tongue positions. If we take only the magenta letters, you can feel the movement of the tongue. Starting with the first row of consonants, the tongue is in the back, ka. It moves forward in the next row to position 2, cha. Next row down to position 3, ta. And then finally the last tongue position, 4, ta. All 4 letters in succession again from top to bottom. Ka, cha, ta, ta. Feel the movement from the back in the throat all the way forward to the teeth. Ka, cha, ta, ta. Ka, cha, ta, ta. Notice that the first position is the back of the tongue. The second position is more to the middle of the tongue. And the last 2 positions, the tip of the tongue. Ka, cha, ta, ta. Ka, cha, ta, ta. Now we come to the 5th position, the 5th and final row of this consonant group. The hard sound, represented here by the color magenta, hard and minimal breath, at the labial position is pa, 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 pa. Add breath to pa and we get the second letter, pa, pa, pa. Compare the 2, minimal breath, pa, magenta, pa. Red-orange, hard but with full breath, pa, pa. The first, pa. The second, pa. The first, pa. The second, pa. The corresponding soft letter to the first letter, pa, is ba. The third letter in this row, ba. The color is violet, meaning a soft letter with minimal breath. Ba. The breath is held down. Ba. 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 Ba is the soft variation of the first letter, pa. Compare the 2. Hard, pa. Soft, ba. Hard, pa. Soft, ba. Again, if you put your fingers in your ears, you can hear very clearly the difference between a hard and a soft sound. Pa, pa, pa is hard. Ba, ba, ba is soft. Add breath and we get the 4th letter of this row. Ba, ba. The letter is blue, which means soft but full breath. Ba, ba, ba. Ba is the soft variation of the second letter, pa. Hard, pa. Soft, ba. Hard aspirate, pa. Soft aspirate, ba. First 2 letters, pa, pa. The soft variations, ba, ba. Again, the 2 hard, pa, pa. The 2 soft, ba, bha. The fifth letter of this row, the nasal sound represented in green, is ma. The nasal sound at the lips is ma. Ma also, like the two previous rows, is an independent sound, which means that it will stand alone with any vowel sound following. For example, ma, ma, mi, mu, mu. It's also, like all the others, the nasal sound which will precede the members of its own group. If we put the letter a in front of this ma sound and immediately follow it with another member of its group, you can hear another use of the sound ma. Pa, pa, followed by the first letter. Pa, followed by the second letter, pa. Pa. Pa, followed by the third letter, ba. Ba. Ba, followed by the fourth letter, ba. Bha. Bha. The 5 labial letters. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. Again. Pa, pa, ba, bha, ma. We've completed 5 consonants at each of the 5 mouth positions, giving us 25 letters in all. We've been reading them horizontally. Now let's read the same group vertically, so that we can trace the movement from the back to the front. First, the vertical magenta column, meaning a hard letter with minimal breath. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. Again. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. The second vertical column, red-orange, meaning letters which are hard but with full breath, aspirated. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. Follow the movement of the tongue forward in your own mouth all the way up to the lips. Again, the same letters. Ka, cha, ta, ta, pa. The third row, the violet letters. Violet representing a soft sound with minimal breath. Ga, ja, da, da, ba. Follow the movement from back to front. Ga, ja, da, da, ba. The fourth vertical column, the color blue representing a soft letter with full breath, aspirated. Ga, ja, da, da, ba. Again. Ga, ja, da, da, ba. And the fifth vertical column, color green representing a nasal sound. Nga, nya, na, na, ma. Again. Nga, nya, na, na, ma. You may notice that certain letters sound alike. For instance, the cerebral letters at position 3 and the dental letters at position 4. The sound ta, cerebral, as opposed to ta, dental, may sound similar to you, but the importance at this point is not so much in hearing the difference as in feeling, experiencing the difference. It's important as you go through the alphabet several times that you become more and more familiar with the tongue position so that as you're pronouncing each letter of the alphabet, you're focused on the vibration moving through the tongue or moving directed, in the case of vowel sounds, at a particular position. The next horizontal row, depicted in the color blue, represents semivowels. Semivowels are simple vowel sounds followed by the vowel sound, in this case, a, to create a letter of the alphabet.